All right, welcome back, guys. Thanks for sticking with me through the break. So, what we're going to do here, sort of as I've outlined in the description, I went ahead and exported the model and texture from here. We are going to bring that right on into Houdini. I might as well some quick geometry. Basically, just going to bring in the model, drop down a plane, maybe like a box or something for reference, just to get some more varied stuff in there. We're going to set up the material for the wood, and then we're going to go back into Painter and tweak it. We're going to play with color settings. We're going to play with, some normal, some hide info, just mix things up, kind of get the look that I want, and then that'll probably be the end of the video. Moving forward with this project, which I'm sure I'll have a couple more streams on of the various assets that'll need to be texturing, I will have probably found or created some better substances to use. Substance Share is an amazing platform where you can get really solid pre-built substances from the community, and as I say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, and don't reinvent the wheel and all that. So I'm gonna try and take advantage of the resources offered to me by the community and generate some higher quality results in faster time than what I would be able to do on my own. So I'm just gonna call this ground, go ahead and get started. Ground, we're gonna blow up that file, drop it, not a platonic solid, boy. It's not called a plane, what is it? Oh, it's a grid. Houdini names things weird. Man, that is weird. That's a fine size. Come in Redshift, let's go ahead and build a Redshift node, and then come back in here, and we're gonna control click to get a, that's not what I wanted, that was all. Control click, now we have it at this view. Good enough for me, this is my main cam. Go into my material context. Is it material? It might be shop. I don't actually think that it matters. Material. Go into my RS material builder. RS ground. RS material. This is going to be incredibly simple. This is my surface. RS ground. We're just going to take this preset and call it, okay, we're not going to call it anything. Let's make it darker. And set roughness to 0.5. No backlighting, reflection, a weight of 0.5 as well, with a roughness of 0.75. Yeah, that's probably all this material needs. And then right next to it, I'm going to go ahead and build another material. RS. I like to hit the A key before anything else. Turns out that I still suck at typing after too many years of doing it. We'll just call this RS Shiny Ball, because that's what it is, or what it will be applied to. Get out of here. Why? Ah! No! Why are you doing this to me? Heck. Leave it to friggin' any software for that matter. This would happen regardless of what I'm using, honestly. I'm just going to call this preview.hip. Preview.hip, and then I guess I'm going to quit and reopen Houdini, and then reload that file. I can only depend on things to work when I'm not trying to show people stuff. That's life. Coolio. Alright, close, file, open recent, preview.hip non-commercial. I go back into my material context. So I've got that there, drop down an RS material, and we're just going to call this RS Shiny Ball. Plug that in there. No. Presets. We're just going to go with platinum. Yeah. Okay. That's going to be fine. Now let's come back up to my object context. We've got the ground. Let's drop down another geo node. Oops. shiny ball. I don't know what I did there. Oh, I turned off the display flag. I'm going to take this and -1 that. Oh, I am going to just lock the camera. Okay, I guess it needs to be minus 0.5, excuse me, not -1, and then come in here, delete. I think it's called sphere. Okay, yeah, this one is called sphere, not ball. I was expecting it to be called ball. So polygon, set the frequency to 10, and probably 0.5 for good measure. And we're gonna turn on my object handles. We're just gonna like move that aside. Okay, just to be on the safe side, everybody's going to get some object parameters, but I don't think either of these need it. I also don't think that this incurs any overhead, but don't quote me on that because I haven't read the documentation in a hot minute. So my material here, render material RS ground for the ground, just nice and bright whites, of course. And then for the ball, RS shiny ball. Okay. And with that, we're going to also add in just an environment light. You know, when we go to work on this project, in the context of the footage we're going to be shooting, we're going to be using lighting references, and we're also probably going to be using a lot more than just a light dome. We may even not use a light dome at all. I mean, it's important to get the realistic colors from the environment, and you can do that easiest with a light ball. However, you're not going to get like rim lighting to accentuate the form of some of your objects, and in some cases you might need that. So it's important to remember there's no one size fits all with lights, that you're going to have to usually have a few lights a scene to really get emphasis on what it is you're trying to light. So with that, we're going to come in here. I don't really need to do anything to this. Dome map. We're going to come in here. I've got loads of skylights, and I believe that I actually got them from, I show the website here, HDRI Skies. I believe Greg Zoll is the artist who I got like that free pack from. Yeah, okay. These are really high quality. I like super highly recommend them. And somewhere there should be like a free collection that you can download. I thought that was a free collection anyways. This may not be the right place. Greg. I don't know how to spell his name. HDR Skies. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Sorry, Greg Zoll, for sucking at spelling. Okay, here we go. This is what's up. Yeah, these are really, really nice. So, you know, do him a solid and support him. I'm kind of like a broke college student with not enough income to spare, but trust me, I will definitely get around to helping him out because I love his resources. They've been a huge help. So hdrihaven.com. He's got tons of free ones. I downloaded his pack, and I'll still go back and like download more when I need them. With that being said, let's get back to business. Okay, we don't need to show sequences, and I'm probably just gonna like do dry field 2K. That should be good enough. And yeah, looks good to me. Let's maybe tweak the rotation of it a bit. Normally I'd probably also have a distant light to get solid fill, but again, it's kind of fine for what I need it to be fine for. So we're gonna hit escape because I don't really care to see that, and I'm gonna turn off my handles. Coolio. So real quick, we're just gonna launch IPR, and that's probably gonna kill the encoding, to be honest, because I'm using the card also for coding. I know that there's like that whole subsystem that will do the hardware video coding on the fly, but I'm still banging my PCI bus with loads of data to do the rendering. My license is also not on this machine, so we're just going to deal with watermarks today. I mean, there's literally nothing fancy about this. This is everything that I expect it to be. So we'll just zoom out and kind of show the scene that we're working with, which is this. So we're going to drop our material sphere and get started. So, whoops. Go ahead and add in more geometry. Material sphere. This aside, it should have the maps with it as well. And then if we go back to my desktop and then preview sphere wooden, OBJ, accept. Whoa! That's amazing. It's just huge. All right. Even 0.1 is still too big. That's friggin' hilarious. I don't know what's up with that scale. 0.05. Oops, I meant 0.005. All right, that works. So let's lift it up. Come in here, something like that's fine. This will do. I'm not gonna work much making the render super clean and stuff like that because it just doesn't matter right now. All right, so we're gonna go back and do material context, new material builder, RS material builder. Drop that bad boy in there. I'm just gonna rename this real quick. RS plaster ball. Come in here. So we're gonna need to start with an RS material for sure. And I wonder how many textures we have. I think 5 is the magic number there. If we come back here into desktop, preview sphere wooden, we've got a base color, height, metallic, ambient occlusion. Okay, we have both normals and DirectX normals. Probably going to use this one and then roughness. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm not going to use the texture for the metallic. And there's a better way to set this up where this would just be a 1x1 pixel color. If it's all black, it's pointless to load in a 4K texture because even though you're only eating up 31.9 kilobytes of RAM, you still have to, do all the math that gets involved with the 4K texture, and that's still expensive. In a scenario where it's all black, you just set this to an absolute value of 1x1. But since I know it's all black anyways, we're just gonna set the metallic property to black. So with that, name this RS plaster ball and move those aside. In my reflection, we're just gonna bring it down to 0. I might still have a weight of 1. I'm gonna bring the weight down to 0 as well, just to be on the safe side. So we've got 4 textures. RS texture. Control C, Control V, 2, 3. Okay, so that's 4. We're going to say TS for short, texture sampler, base, color. We're going to say TS roughness, TS normal. I'm going to need another one for my ambient occlusion. There we go. TS height, and then TS ambient occlusion. Okay, I still haven't found out the workflow that works best for me when it comes to including an ambient occlusion texture, because this material doesn't necessarily have built-in AO. I mean, I don't think that most materials do. Oh, excuse me. If I am honest, yeah, we could give this coding if we wanted. So I usually just take the two textures and multiply them together, and that's given me decent results. There's probably a way to clean it up or, better take advantage of something, but for the time being that worked with me. So we're going to start and we're just going to load in all of these textures. All right, so base color, no, mixed ambient occlusion, sorry. Base color is the one underneath it. Base color, plug in my mixed ambient occlusion. Roughness, go ahead and plug in my roughness texture. Normal, we're going to do just that. Plug in my normal. And my height, we are going to plug in height. Plain and simple. Just like that. Okay, so these three are going to actually be plugged into the material, to the RS material. Our output node here has got inputs for displacement and bump map. We're going to use the normal as a bump map and actually displace the geometry with our height field. That should give me the result that I want. And before we just plug these straight in, I'm actually going to add in an RS displacement. And, oh, you know what, though? Okay, yeah. Out color, plug, oop, no. Lol. My roommate's sounds like she has encountered some trouble. Okay, let's call this, I don't even need to abbreviate it, we'll just call this displacement. Output's going to go into my displacement. We're just going to put that there. I don't really care to clean this up at the moment. We can also like sort of play with scale, and we're definitely going to end up doing that. Usually when I bring in materials from anywhere, in the viewport, I'm like, yeah, let's just go pull all the stops, full throttle, 110 plus ultra, and I end up with this very disgusting, gross map when I actually bring it in to be rendered. And I'm not sure that I need to do anything for the bump map. Yeah, I do. So I could very well just straight up plug these in here, right? But what I lose when I do that is the ability to kind of do these on-the-fly changes. When it's something like the normal intensity, I can just tell the render engine to use 50% of the scale or whatever, to affect it, rather than coming over here and actually modifying that. And that might be something that I end up doing, depending on how bad or how much I have to tweak it. But if it's just a quick tweak like that, then there's not really much point. All right, so we're going to pull these back a little bit. I guess I can leave this one more forward. And you are going to go into my diffuse roughness. Technically, I'm pretty sure this also needs to go into reflection roughness, but we aren't reflecting anything. Okay, I see. So somewhere in here, there's a metalness. So we're actually going to turn this back up. I set this weight to 1 again. I think I might also put the roughness in the color as well, in my reflection color. I wish that they exposed the, oh, you know what? We can do this. So, move those up. Say RS color, absolute. Set my input to black, and then come in here to my base properties and set this to my reflectivity metalness. It's not a metal, so you don't get to be metal, and you'll be black. All right, now do, not space, tab, RS multiply. Might need to be, yeah, needs to be vector multiply. RS vector multiply, because we have, these are vectors. Boom, and boom, and then plug you into my diffuse color. Realistically, I think everything should get multiplied by ambient occlusion, although I'm not sure that that matters. So it looks like everything is set up. right? All my textures are loaded in. We're gonna, excuse me, we're gonna save that and then come back up into the Object tab, give you some object parameters in case you need them, and give you that RS plaster ball material. And we're just gonna kind of see what this looks like. Part of the reason that I wanted to have this shiny ball is just to see how it like reflects and all that jazz. Oops. Nope. Go. Also, we're going to turn off the grid. I don't really need it. It's not doing me anything. And with that, let us then go into IPR. So we'll go and launch IPR. And honestly, I could just have InPlay be snapped here in the render view. But whatever. I've already got it launched, so we'll let it build the scene here. Okay, that's a good sign so far. It's black. So we're going to stop. I just need to cache this. There's not anything else. It's one of these. Oh, I think actually it's just when I click a new one, it's going to come and do that. So let's come back into my, not the shiny ball, the plaster ball. And what probably happened is what probably ends up always happening, wherein I decided it would be a good idea to just plug everything in and then see what happens. So I don't even think that I need InPlay for this. Although I think I click IPR so I can like swap back and forth in, yeah. So let's stomp that again. Let's get a better close-up and just go and delete these connections and start back from the basics. Color working, and then yeah, everything should be back to the way that it was. Delete that, and we're just going to plug my base properties. So diffuse color. There we go. Let's start here. And if I hit IPR, I should now not have anything. That's why. Okay, let's kill my IPR render. So I realized what I did. These are both, I'm multiplying my color against ambient occlusion, but they both loaded ambient occlusion. So let's try that again. Maybe use the color, you know, where the color should be. All right, so let's IPR that and see what we get. I'm gonna build the Redshift scene. I mean, you are building the Redshift scene, right? It's hard to tell. All right, cool. Although, let us, heck, I guess I'll just turn this around, honestly, and just look from this angle. Head on. Get up real close and see what that looks like. Probably looks exactly how I expected it to. I mean, noise not withgoing, details are holding up fine. However, I'm not getting any of that, you know, normal displacement or anything like that. So let's go and look at that. So make sure height is loading up height and normal is loading up normal. Okay, let's come into my displacement and let's just scale this up by some obscene amount just to get something to happen. I kind of tend to work in extremes, right? I'll just be like, all right, again, we'll just no holes barred. Really doesn't look like it's doing anything. So let's stop that real quick. And if we look at the one before it, it's maybe affecting it a little bit. It's not good to change too many things at once. So let's set this back to 1. Okay, one of these needs to be set to vector. This one. Probably object space normal. Maybe I need to switch these. We'll see. So I guess we'll just plug that back into 10 and see what happens. IPR. Bring you back up. Ugh. Yeah, that did something. So those are broken normals is absolutely what that is. So let's stop that and then come back into my bump map. Try tangent space normal. See what that does. IPR it. Bring it back. Doesn't look like it did anything. So we'll look here, broken normals. They really like kind of all look the same. I think that this needs to be object space. Let's enable that. Let's say unbiased normal. That bad boy in. Let's see what we get. That might be what we're looking for. No. It's like really not doing anything. Let's let it render out a little bit more and sort of see what we get. Yeah. I'm really not getting anything out of this. So let's do this because my IPR is being a bit of a butt. So let's just break things and go into render view. Hey, that's pretty nifty. Oh. That's freaking hilarious. It's just broken. Okay, I think that I like this better. I mean, it's doing something. So if we set that back to 1, so it might need to be unbiased normals. If we flip normal Y, we could potentially be getting something. I suppose it's kind of hard to tell when we just don't have much detail to work with in general. So we're gonna get like right up in its business and look at a grazing angle because it's always easy to like see the detail there. Okay, let's render up. So it's pretty subtle. I guess the detail's there. If I'm honest, I'm not a fan of that subtlety. So what if we unflip normal Y? Yeah, I think that's all that I need to do. Just unflip it. And maybe yeah, anything above 1 is destroying it. Say 1.25. Try it. 1.5. Kind of a sweet spot. 9. Yeah, that breaks it. There's something going on outside my window and it's like actually starting to bug me. How does that look in context? It's kind of like why I tend to use in-play, because I can start and restop it and sort of have these, ooh, you know, snapshots to compare it to. I mean, it certainly is affecting it. Maybe there's just not enough detail there. So let's come back into my displacement. Let's just try switching these. I don't think that that's actually like doing anything. So what if we set U to a vector as well? Neither of those are actually producing a difference. Once we blow the scale up, who knows what'll happen. Okay, literally nothing. So let's just bypass the displacement completely and plug my map straight in. Which in its own right still doesn't really seem to be doing anything. So let's scale back to 1. And then let's go up into my object, my Redshift parameters, enable tessellation. Okay, didn't turn on displacement. So it's going to go through and then load the map, and then it's probably going to blow up. Okay. Everything's kind of triangulated already as well. Okay, so, yeah. Just going to turn that up. That doesn't necessarily turn up my displacement. It just allows it to have more displacement. But we can already see on the edges it's actually starting to take effect. So it turns out I just spent a whole bunch of time. I just needed to turn on, you know, displacement. Okay. So if we come back into my material, maybe this time it's almost too strong, you know? So let's, again, just get like a grazing angle. Just get a nice little close up. Yeah, it's gonna have to go and rebuild displacement. Ooh. Okay, let's stop that. Yeah. I'm sure at this point, as I see, I'm getting some errors. We are like skipping frames like mad. That happens when I do render work. In fact, now my freaking windows are freaking. What the heck? Now my windows are freaking out. That, unfortunately, that's sort of the side effect of not having a second GPU to do this stuff on. I wish I did. I mean, I technically do, but it's like this tiny dinky little thing. It actually makes everything slower. You know, because the overhead involved in managing 2 displays on separate cards and the bus load and all that jazz isn't worth what that card gives in terms of performance. Story for another day. Render view, come back. Oh, it's literally right there. So let's give that a second to do its thing. Oh, turns out that I can, like, freeze. Yeah, it's actually pretty gross looking now. Which is kind of what I want, you know, because that means it's working. So now I have to come back and tweak these as I see fit. So this bump map, probably turn that back to 1. Yeah. In its own right, that fixes a lot. I guess there's no map on this area, or no UVs on this area, because we can see everything like dilated, but that doesn't matter so much. It doesn't look terrible. Kind of blurry, but that's not like a problem with the shader per se. Let's come back to my displacement, see how far I can push this. So let's do like 1.25. It's going to go through and tessellate and start actually rendering the geometry. Maybe try pushing this a little bit more. That's probably good enough at this point. So we're just gonna get a beauty close-up of here. So I'm gonna save this real quick and come back into my out, my Redshift ROP. I don't even know what the resolution is set at on the camera. Let's do 1920 by, oops, by 1080, and we're actually just going to, here in my out, just set it to 3/4 resolution. Okay, so don't really care about my AOVs at this point in time. Optimizations, I'm not really reflecting too much. I'm actually going to turn that down to 1 because I don't have any refraction going on, and just say 4. I'm not doing anything with hair, so we don't need to enable that. I'm going to leave the cutoff thresholds the same. We're going to leave those the same. Global illumination, I mean, it'll make it look a little bit prettier, I suppose. So we'll just brute force it with 2 bounces. Set this to something like, not even 256, because there's not, there's not really much need for that. Don't have anything for that. Don't have any volumetric scattering. CPUs like big buckets because they can only work on one, or GPU, sorry. A GPU can only work on one bucket at a time. So pro tip for when you are going and doing your renders on GPU-based renders, the bigger the buckets, the better, as well as the closer to like the power of 2 they are. Computers just like to handle things in base 2 better because binary is, base 2. And GPUs operate in parallel, but unlike CPUs, they have many cores, but those cores can't work independent of each other, so to speak. They don't have like the same sorts of threading mechanisms that CPUs have developed over the years that lets them pretty much all be working on a different thing. A GPU can throw a heck ton of raw compute power at one task at a time, and it'll do that one task really fast. So the more, the bigger of a task you can feed it, the better. It'll keep it, it'll keep it more full. So there's my global illumination stuff. Set these min samples to 4. Go ahead and say max to 32. Adaptive error threshold. Go ahead and make that a little bit bigger. And I literally just love the friggin' Mitchell Catmull-Rom filter for everything. Sampling overrides. I'm gonna actually do this because I only need like 4 samples. I'm okay with like blurry reflections, and I'm only gonna have 1 refractive sample because I'm not refracting anything. Gonna leave ambient occlusion alone because I don't have an ambient occlusion shader. So we're not doing this, so we're not gonna override them. I might come fix ambient occlusion later. Doesn't really matter. Okay. Go ahead and just give it 128 samples. And we'll end this episode by just rendering it to mplay, and we'll see what we get. I'm probably getting a licensing error. Yeah, no license found. But regardless, it's still going to launch mplay and render it just with watermarks. Yeah, this is 3/4 resolution. All right. Cool. So at this point, just kind of talking through the last little bit of the stream here. We are currently building the scene. This is usually the longest part. This is where Redshift transfers all the geometry, all the textures, particles, all the stuff it actually has to render over to the GPU. It will then go and tessellate any geometry needed to as well. That's basically like automatically subdividing it based on some arbitrary like black box factors you've given it, like how many times should I tessellate it, and also like how close it is to the camera as well. Once it gets all that transferred over, it's actually going to start the rendering. Building usually takes the longest. Well, technically rendering takes longer, but like you kind of get those results. Building, you just kind of shot in the dark, honestly. And it really looks like, oh, excuse me, I am just eating up RAM. But it's going cool. Yeah. It is eating up all my memory anyways. Alright, for those of you, watching this after the fact, feel free to skip ahead a few minutes to see this render. At this point, we're honestly just kind of watching paint dry, but there's not necessarily much that I do want to wrap up on. So, what I'm going to do right now, I'm actually going to stop this render so we don't have to watch paint dry. I'll come and re-render it so we can see the finished product later. But the render that we can get out of Substance Painter is going to look kind of close, but should go much faster. And goodness gracious, it might wait until it finishes rendering that tile, actually, now that I think about it. What the heck, man? Oh, you know what? I think we're using all the graphics card memory. This is only a 4 gig card, so this scene is, way too overboard for no reason. Alright, so let's come in here, view, views, mode, rendering mode, and that will take a second to load up. Again, as we go through and sort of build the scene. And of course, come on, come on. Okay. Please. Which one of you are gonna let me? Yikes. Yeah, all renders, whoa. No, I want to see the dome itself. There we go. Goodness gracious. I don't really have a way to like not render and then move the scene around. I'm gonna actually activate my post effects. So what we're gonna get out of Redshift is something a little bit similar to this. I'm just gonna have to go and actually fix the shader itself to get this result. But those are like little tweaking things. The base is there, it's just finding those magic numbers and kind of tweaking things to look a little better. But this is sort of the end game here. We can see the painted normals that we added on. Not the biggest fan of this sort of, I don't even know if this is called like brown plaster or something. I don't know, honestly. We can make this look cleaner though. I'm not actually sure that it will let me. There's not a place for me to like crank up samples and stuff like that. Although there should be. There is not. Why? I want more iterations than that. Yeah, I don't think I set up my ambient occlusion texture correctly, and I don't think that the OBJ imported the maps correctly, because if we like look on the side here, in Painter, we're not getting this dilation. going on. It was much, much better coming out of... Ooh, wrong way, wrong way. Stop it, stop it, stop it. Please. Oh my god, just friggin' zoom in, man. These inverse controls are killing me. Yikes. Yeah, so there's still more fixing up of stuff to be done. That's a bummer. I really wanted to get the Redshift material working. I think the base is there, but like I said, I'm just going to have to play with it. This is good enough for now, for sure. Lol. Yeah, I mean, I don't know why it's not giving me... Oh, there we go. Okay, max time. Set this to 60. I don't have caustics because I don't have anything that's like glass or even remotely shiny. So there we go, and it'll go and render out 1,000 frames, 1,000 samples, or render for up to a minute, depending which comes first, which should give me a little bit cleaner results in some of the shadows, but that's not the biggest deal in the world. Yeah, of course, there's always more customization to be had. The important thing would just be to keep working with the texture and the model to get your texture to look, correct in the world it's setting in. You'd paint scratches in, and like according to who touched it, the time of day, how long that building's been built. You'd play with colors to get them to match the right context. You'd tweak the dirt filters. There's not necessarily anything inherently wrong with using these tools, but you just want to not have them look as stock as this one is turning out. All in all, though, I would say that I'm definitely very, very pleased with how it's turned out, and I would just like to thank you guys for tuning in. Hopefully you were able to learn something, found it interesting or helpful in some regard. Always feel free to leave a comment, if there's something you guys would like to see. Don't forget to subscribe, and definitely check me out for the next one. Friday, I believe I said the time was like... Actually, I don't even remember when I said the time was, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm going to have to pull that up. Where did I save that schedule? Okay, let's open a new window. This is hilarious. Creative Confos. Really? Really? What are you doing? Yeah, 7 to 10. I thought it would be like 10:30. I said I was going to do... Oh, I said I was going to do 12:30. Well, just kidding. It's really 10 to 12. I was not anticipating... I messed up my schedule. Anyways, thank you guys for watching, and hopefully I will be able to catch a few of you in the next one. You guys have a great night.